Podge, we're back. Episode 2. That was fucking awkward, wasn't it?
Indeed, it was.
I hope it did. Maybe when we listen back to it, it won't feel as awkward or won't sound as awkward as it felt. But to me, anyway, I don't know about you, but did that feel kind of?
It was a little awkward, yeah.
Bit of hard work.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wonder, is that why people don't do more of it? Because it's fucking difficult.
Oh, big time, yeah. I reckon. It's not why we choose our own friends. Like, we limit the amount of people that are exposed to our insanity or our ideas. We kind of discriminate in a lot of ways. We fucking limit the amount of people that you have interactions with. You kind of choose a circle of friends, and then that's that. You kind of stay within the parameters. Then,
yeah, we isolate ourselves into our own little echo chambers from fucking baby infants, junior infants.
Yeah, big time.
You have your little clique, and no outsiders welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Like. And I wonder much of it is you kind of people that look like you, or people that, or your parents, like, did they share the same values? I know with my folks, it would have been kind of, there'd be certain kids you just wouldn't be hanging around with because they wouldn't just mix with the family, or kind of, wouldn't share the same values or that kind of thing. It'd be, where the good Catholics, then, or maybe not so much that sort of thing. Like, there'd be no issue if they're foreign or anything like that. But
anymore, no issue anymore. Those things. But back in the day, I mean, I have a thought that religion generally was a way that you could trust people. So if you bumped into somebody who wasn't from your area, let's say somebody new visiting town, a quote unquote outsider, you don't know who they are, you don't know anything about them, but they turn around and they tell you that they're the same religion as you. You can kind of let your guard down a little and go, okay, right, well, at least you have that kind of somewhat tangible thing. You've a hold on them. Definitely. You don't need. So if they say that they're, I don't know, a Jew, for example, if they say they're a Jew and you're a Jew, you don't have to ask them, do they eat pork when you're going to eat a meal with them? Because you know that already. Now, I know that's a kind of real base example, but you can extrapolate that to everything that faith says, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a handle on the person. Now, it doesn't mean they're perfect, but you're a lot closer to them in some respect.
Definitely, yeah. Shared values and shared outlooks.
You kind of know what you're getting a little.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people ask where you're really from.
Yeah.
They're trying to get a handle on you. Do you know that kind of way? Because to me, and I've spoken about this a couple of times in the podcast and conversations and in solos, but the idea is that there's a narrative whereby somebody asking a foreign-looking person, say, for want of a better term, where are you from? And they say Navan or Dublin or wherever it is. And then there's a follow-up question of, where are you really from? And I remember a mutual cousin of ours, Des, said that what they're asking isn't where you're from, it's why are you brown? And I'm willing to agree with him on that, and I think I do agree with him on that. But I don't think they're asking why are you brown because they're racist. I don't think an actual racist will care.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? You're from foreign land as far as a genuine racist is concerned. So when somebody asks that follow-up question, it's like asking what religion you are, in the same context as I just mentioned there a minute ago. They're just trying to get a handle on you. They're just trying to...
What do we share here in common? Or,
I think so, yeah. I think so. Are we friends or are we enemies?
Yeah.
Because if you say you're from somewhere that I know, and I know it to be a reputable place, we'll get off on a certain footing. But if you mention somebody somewhere else that I'm not as well familiar with, that I have a bad opinion of, rightly or wrongly, we're off to a worse footing. So you're trying to ascertain what it is that you're dealing with here. Do you know what I mean? Is it a good guy? Is it a bad guy? Is it someone I can trust? Is it someone I can't trust? But an actual racist won't trust you full stop.
Oh, you're
from
just
the get-go.
judged instantly.
You're just a foreigner, and that's all that matters. So there's no need for the follow-up question. Do you know that kind of way? What did we start talking about?
I don't know. We're on to race now.
Wouldn't be like us to veer into fucking dodgy territory, would it? But again, we're here, this is being recorded. This isn't fucking locker room talk. You know, it's not, you know, behind closed doors or whatever. It's for public consumption. And we more or less straight away delved into what might be considered kind of dodgy territory. But that's okay, because I think the reason that we can do that is we're both comfortable enough with our own minds and inside our own skins. Because the biggest objection I get to coming on is people being afraid that they'll say something that they think.
Don't do that.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are afraid of saying something completely random that they've never thought before. What they're afraid of is their little bit of racism slipping out. They're afraid of their little bit of sexism slipping out, or homophobia. Now, I'm not racist, sexist, or homophobic, so I'm a lot more comfortable in talking about these things, and I've made my peace with the elements of racism and sexism and homophobia that I do have. That I'm willing to expose them in an effort to overcome them. But I've put a lot of thought into these things, and I think people who haven't are just flat out terrified of coming across as being a racist or a sexist or whatever it is.
Especially, I suppose, if you don't have any, you know, black friends or gay friends, or you're probably that bit more sensitive or paranoid as well. Like, fucking, I suppose, I've plenty of gay friends and black friends, and some gay black friends.
Those are the ones to watch.
You know, completely comfortable to talk with them. So it's, you know, kind of, I think exposure is a great thing. Kind of, a lot of the ideas that might be in your head are maybe changed, but just through exposure. How many people are racist until they have it? I love the thing you always say, you know, the kind of stereotypical Irish racist that works with, you know, a Polish lad in work, but Pavel is fine. Like, I know Pavel, but all the other Polish, no, jeez,
they're on that whole entire country is no good. Like.
Yeah. But once you're exposed to somebody, you kind of you change your opinion fairly lively.
Yeah, very much so. It's funny because you were saying there about you having kind of black and gay friends or whatever else. I know a couple of gay guys, but I mean, they're certainly not in my circle. I'm not texting them, I don't meet up with them. Not that I fucking could these days with lockdown, but you know what I mean? They're not really in my circle. Like, a mate of mine owns a restaurant in Navan, you probably know him, and he's an openly gay man, has been forever. I know him since we were in our early teens. And like, he's a mate, and I go, what's the crack, brother, every time I see him, and I love him and I wish him all the best, and I think fucking fair play to him and his partner and all the rest of us, you know, 100% behind him and all the rest. But we're not mates. He's never been in my house, I've never been in his. Yes. Do you know that kind of way? But exposure is key to it, because if I didn't know him, say, or the other couple of guys that I happen to know are gay, if I didn't know that they were gay or didn't know any gay people, like, what are you to base your assumptions on? Because in Ireland, at least, in good old Catholic Ireland, you're raised to be homophobic.
Like,
gay, like, whatever about these days, I can't speak for what's been taught in schools now, but I was brought up as a Catholic, and part of Catholicism, as far as I was concerned, was that gay people didn't get into heaven. Because gay people weren't...
No, you couldn't get married.
It was fucking illegal until 1993. Fucking insane.
Oscar Wilde in prison for being gay.
Fucking boggles the fucking mind, like. Illegal until 1993.
What?
But it's mad, though, because we seem to think that we live... Or there's a lot of people that either seem to think we live in it or would want to live in a post-prejudice world. And I'm all for that. But to think that Ireland could be completely rid of its homophobia when it was illegal in, as recently as 1993 is just
ridiculous. But fundamentally, I don't think you want to try to eradicate... It sounds maybe wrong, but I mean... that's to be human, being able to choose what you do. That's what it means to be human, even if that means choosing to be an asshole. That's your choice. Like, that's trying to bring a utopia on Earth where there's going to be no racism, no homophobia, nothing bad is nonsense. Like, you can't. That's not the world. That's not the world I want to live in. Maybe for me, that's just realistic. That's realism. But I know to a lot of people that might sound like fucking bigoted or backward or fucking just a stupid way of thinking. But fundamentally, I think that's the human experience, has been able to choose between what you consider right and wrong, and that's your freedom as a human, is to have that choice.
Yeah. What you reminded me of is the idea of heaven. So I remember as a kid thinking about heaven and knowing that my heaven wouldn't be your heaven.
Yes.
Do you know, kind of way? And utopia, if you just replace heaven with utopia, which is
heaven on earth, same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my heaven on earth isn't your heaven on earth.
Of course.
So you might have an idea of a utopia in your head, but it's not necessarily everybody else's. And it's not that it's not even necessarily, it's highly unlikely that it's anybody else's. Never mind everybody's.
Even your own. When it comes to fruition, though, it's very often the thing you're striving for. As soon as you get it, you're kind of bored of it, or you want something else. Then that's just human nature. Like, we want what we don't have. As soon as you have it, it's kind of lost a lot of its appeal. So yeah, I'm always very skeptical of people are super pushing towards utopia. I think it's just flawed, fundamentally flawed. I don't know, you push towards it, but realise that you're never going to get there. Maybe it might be a better attitude to take.
Yeah, because I'm all for pushing. Like, this whole podcast, like, part of the reason you're sitting there and I'm sitting here is to push both ourselves on first and foremost, and by default anybody who decides to listen. Do you know, that kind of way? So I'm all for pushing forward, but you know, step by step. I think people want to get to Z without going through A, B and C. Do you know, that kind of way?
Sure.
And if you could, maybe it'd be a good thing, but I don't know, I think things that kind of happen over time are always better than things that are tried forced or made immediate. Like, you know?
I think there's always, when you push in one direction, there's always an opposition then. So the harder you push against something, you're going to get, you can see it in the States, especially the last few years, where you have the maybe left-wing ideologies becoming more and more, not mainstream, but more and more public and more amplified through the internet. You see the pushback then from the kind of radical right wing. So, I mean, that's just always going to happen. The more an area or a group of people push in one direction, there's going to be a group of people that want to push in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, so of course.
It's the dialogue between, it's the conversations that happen along the way. I think that's what's important. That's where we live. It's that space between people. I think that's the connections between us are more important than anything else, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what happens with polarization in general, whether it's you've got, you know, I don't know, a gay guy and a homophobe, or a black guy and a white supremacist, or whatever, it doesn't matter. When you have two kind of opposing forces, if they're not communing with each other, there's no middle ground. There's just what's over on the far right and what's over on the far left. And there is no middle ground because those sides aren't talking.
Yeah, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yes.
That's how both sides are feeling about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fucking fascinating. And what I love about talking like this is we're not talking about race or homosexuality or any of those things. It's more fundamental. It's more deeper. And I'm only said it on the podcast there the other day. I've threatened the world with writing a book, and the idea of it is it's basically just to put my worldview on paper so that I can fucking see it, and this is part of it. And what I might do is pick a chapter. So let's say one of the chapters will be education, and what I'd love to do is sit down with someone like yourself and we'll do education. Another chapter is governance, so politics basically, and we talk about that. But the idea is that at the end of it, my own thoughts on each chapter are clearer, and that makes me hone the whole thing together so that I can put my fucking worldview on the table and go, There it is.
There it is,
That's
yeah.
it. I know it fucking cover to cover.
Yeah.
As opposed to what I'm like now, which is I have all the information, but it's fucking scattered everywhere. It's not. You actually put me onto this. It's not information.
Yeah.
I have all the information, but it's not information.
Big
My
time.
fucking head is wedged with so much data. It's incredible. But it's of no use to me.
Yeah. And look, I think there's a certain amount is always going to be like that. I love looking, kind of retrospectively looking back. Just what you were talking about there reminded me of, say, Rogan talking about his podcast and that. If you want to know what I'm about, there's about 20,000 hours of audio that you can look back on. Like, never mind these 2-minute articles written about me. But yeah, you can see how someone in real time, like you can see how people's ideas change or don't change. Or,
Yes.
do you know, I think there's even the most well put together person, there's always room for improvement. I suppose that's part of the experience too. There's always ways of improving or ways of going back with one step forward and maybe a few to the side, a few back. So it's it's I think my worldview changes all the time, like depending on what I'm kind of putting into, what input I'm taking in. It's funny.
It's funny it's funny the inputs, like, and by inputs I mean everything you kind of see, hear, taste, like everything that's kind of coming into the body, how it affects you. Adon, my brother out in Qatar, he, what was he saying to me? I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, it was running tracks. He's getting into running recently.
Cool.
And I sent him on a couple of tunes that I would run to. They're running tunes, and mostly it's fucking da 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 da, you know, running through walls kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, fucking Deli, nice one for the selection. Here's a few of the ones that I'm listening to. And I was like, fucking Deli, happy days, class. And I said, do you listen to much Eminem? I'd listen to a good bit of Eminem when I'm running. And he was like, no, I've actually stopped listening to Eminem because I found that he makes me angry.
Believe it or not.
But I never fucking cop that. My fucking Eminem consumption has fallen through the fucking floor since he said that.
Yeah.
Because I've caught myself a couple of times in the fucking car and just, like, you're listening to a man fucking screaming and shouting about how he wants to decapitate his wife. But it's funny, it's not until he said that ever even dawned on me that could be the case.
Music's so powerful like that. I find rhyme, especially rap, rhymes just stick in your brain. Like you'd be humming away to a tune without even realising you're doing it. Like,
it's mad though, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah.
You can replace Eminem music there for everything, basically. The books you read, the news you watch, the articles you read, it's all feeding into you, like, do you know that kind of way?
Definitely.
And if you become lopsided, if you become more bitterness, anger and hate than love, joy and happiness, say, you're going to gravitate to Eminem.
Yeah.
But like Eminem, like I loved Eminem, I still do, but throughout my teens, through my formative years, he would have been a cornerstone of that. Yeah. And that mightn't necessarily be all that much of a good thing. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Now, it was a great thing in many ways, but you have to kind of... I put it this way, I wish Adon had said that to me 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Because maybe I wouldn't be as fucking quick to put my fist through a wall as a fucking 37-year-old adult, like. Do you know that kind of way?
Eminem made me do it, I swear.
Lad, we're just shy of 20 minutes. I'm going to cut it there and we'll fucking do the next one.
Happy days.